Hello and welcome to GRIDwrap this fair Monday, and I'm really excited today because I've got somebody on that I haven't spoken to for absolutely ages, and I'm dying to know what's happened to her. Anyway, so I'm just going to say, I'm going to go with no more ado. I'm going to say hello to Selina Greene of Book Island and Book Publishing Island. Hello, Selina.
Hello, it's good to be back. I haven't spoken to you in the longest while, Disa.
Not the longest while. Is it Book Island or Book Publishing Island?
It's Book
Village.
Island.
Right, okay. And we have, of course, Tessa Harrington with us this week, co-host and sponsor here of GRIDwrap. Hi, Tessa, how are you doing?
Hello, everyone. How you doing?
So
Hi,
we've had a bit of a rush on tonight because the Lindens had shut the gates by the look of it for a little while, but now we're all here and we're settled and we're going to calm down and we're going to have a nice, relaxed time. So, Selina, what's been happening to you for the last 3 or 4 years? It's a broad question. There, she switched off her sound and carried. When I first met you, I came down to Book Island all that time ago to do an out and about, and at that time, Book Island was really developing. Actually, it had a lot of places there, a lot of stalls. You were publishing books that had come from within Second Life as well, and you were extending at that point. You were developing, I think, your publishing village at that point as well. So, and you started something a little new, which you might go into or you might not. So, what happened after that? Was it easy? That's the question.
It's been a long process. We started off on the mainland with 512 square meters. And gradually worked up to a quarter of a sim on the mainland. Initially, I came in Second Life with my real-life publishing company, Vision Paperbacks, and I realised no one was coming to us. I used search, I did classifieds, no one was coming, and I realised that maybe if we had more publishers, more writers, and we banded together, we'd become a destination. So that's exactly what we did. And we held the first Second Life book fair in, I think, March 2007. And people stayed on. We grew to a quarter of a sim, and we used that to basically move to our own island, Book Island, in June 2007. And it wasn't that long after, I think, that we did the interview, Dusa. So it was very, very early days. Since then, we expanded to 2 sims. Contracted back to 1 sim again because that didn't really work. I think we overextended ourselves. We were just too big to walk around. And so now we're back down to Book Island on its own. We've got nearly 50 residents, bloggers, publishers, writers. We've even got a psychotherapist who writes. It's a wonderfully, wonderfully diverse group of people, all interested in the written word.
Now that's fantastic. There is a big literary, literary tradition in virtual worlds. Do you think it's because of the blog culture that pervades the internet?
Yes, I think so. I mean, we do have a lot of bloggers resident on the island, but I think that there's a really nice tie-in between a 3D environment, blogs, and the traditional ink on paper. I think that they're very complementary in terms of marketing, promoting, and just getting the word out. So we've seen a lot of writers come into Second Life and stay. That's the really exciting thing.
That is, isn't it? And so let's talk about how you did get it together. You said you expanded and you felt that you'd gone too far and it was just too big to walk around. How did you discover that?
Well, literally both islands were adjoining each other. Very easy to walk across. I don't think that sim crossing dangers and foibles and Linden Labs' inability to allow us to move between sims helped, because people would wind up dropping to the bottom of the ocean. It was off-putting. But we just found simply that people were teleporting into Book Island and they just weren't going over the border, even though it was very close by. And we found that actually just taking the number of residents that we had across both islands and putting them onto Book Island solved the problem. It was as simple as that. Too far to walk.
It's pathetic, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, we're lazy in Second Life as well as real life. It's incredible.
Yeah, the only thing is, of course, we don't put on weight in Second Life. We don't get on our foods.
And it's actually quite rare that we sit down as well. Sorry,
Tessa, come in.
I said I still walk. In fact,
You still walk?
Yes, I walk around every place. I did, maybe I'm odd.
It's good to have a look round, isn't it?
Yes, I love it because you see things from a totally different perspective when you walk. As far as flying or TPing, voila, you're there. And I use all three, but I do for short jaunts. I have no problems. I don't see the sense in TPing. It's right there. Why not just walk? So that's really odd. I mean, and it was just a matter of moving some of the population over, or all of them over, or what did you do, Selina?
Pretty much moved everybody over. We constructed a beautiful square called Cartland Court, just towards the back of the island, towards the beach, and put everyone there. And it looks wonderful. We had a big old oak tree there, and people loved it. And just bringing everybody together on the one sim made all the difference.
Wow.
Very strange.
Now, you talked about doing a book fair. Has that become an annual event?
We ran two in 2007 and 2008, and actually what we've done instead is we've made sure that we've got regular events on the island. So we have an event every day now, pretty much.
Wow.
I know. We have, in fact, we have two today, and I'm here in between the two events.
Oh my God. So what have you got on today, for example?
Today we had Marnie Wolfhunter, who is in real life from Dragon International Independence Arts, which is an independent publisher based in the UK. She does readings, both of her own work and some of her author's works, and then does a small open mic at the end. So she was actually at 2:00, and then at 4:00, so straight after this, we've got happy hour in the bar with Isis Seriano, who is from Marion Margaret Press in real life. And we've got a happy hour every day, and really it consists of sitting down, having a drink, and chewing the fat about anything, literary or non-literary. So that's a nice way of bringing the community together in a more informal setting. But we have readings of whole books as well, a chapter a week, all kinds of things.
Oh, do you? So who do you get to do the readings and what have you? Do the authors themselves, maybe? Or?
Absolutely. I think it's so much better when an author reads their own work. You can really get inside the work and really feel the story from their perspective. We had Arlene Radasky, who is Imrad Breen in Second Life, read her novel The Fox, which is a wonderful historical romance, which is not normally a genre I would choose for myself, but I was absolutely riveted. Fantastic writing. And she read a chapter a week, and there were something like 32 chapters, and she had a regular audience.
Hey, I want to go to that. Hey, I want that on my grid. That sounds really fun. Does she do some of the writers, do they do the voice annotations with the characters, or do they just read it straight? Or
I've heard authors do both. Personally, I like it when it's a straight reading, but some authors do choose to do the voices, which can be fun.
So it's a bit like theater and writing together then when they do that, I imagine.
Absolutely. We had a reading from Jay Cox, and he wrote Memoir for Mind Toy, which is about a young robot girl in a sci-fi setting. And so that was quite entertaining with him doing Robot Girl's voice.
So, how did the events come about? How did you discover that was the way in? It's about building a community, presumably, is it around that? Even though you'd already got the residents, as it were, or they absolutely involved already on the island.
Yes, I mean, really the events came about from residents wanting to showcase their work, or us pushing people to say, come on, you can get out there. You can really find an in-world audience for your work as well as be it through your blog or your real-world books. And people were really enthusiastic, and it's great.
This is important
been
because,
going on for some time, yeah.
Because the written word's becoming, a lost art. I mean, try to get somebody to read your website is like, oh my God. I know it's not the most riveting reading, but, it just seems like we've all kind of lost our way when it comes to the written book, and it's been a while, I have to admit, since I sat down and read a book, with pages in it, actually, that you smell and gravitate to read it more than once,
I find that really interesting, Tessa, that you say that, because I know we are all fantastically busy people.
Yeah.
I have to read. I have to read every day. And I have 7 books by my bed now. And I finished 2 this week. And,
I didn't read. I just do it on the toity like most people. And it's usually the newspaper. Or something like one of those magazine rags about the celebrities, because I need short little things, or else I'll sit in there for 3 hours and go, oops,
That's the thing, though. I think people's attention spans are declining, I think, with web, with blogs, sound bites, TV, even in here. I think it's getting harder and harder to find the time to sit down and read a whole book, which is one of the nice things about listening to a book, a chapter a week. It's sort of reminiscent of the old radio serializations that you would have.
Quite relaxing, it has to be, too. I would find that really enjoyable.
So what happens? You move everybody back on, you do the 2 book fairs, and now you're doing the events per day, as it were. And what do you think, as far as advertising the books, as it were, or people buying the books, do they come to the island to actually buy the books or to get books published, or what do they do when what's on offer there?
Well, there are lots of things. I'm just trying to think of. I can't remember the name of the person. They might not want me to mention them, but I do know somebody got a real life publishing deal as a result of being on the island. We had a real life publisher. They had a shop advertising their book, and they got a contract. So that was very exciting. Also, we've got a group called the Podcrafters on the island, a collection of independent authors who've decided to bypass traditional publishing and create podcasts of their books. And some of them sell them, some of them give them away. And I know that they've made a lot of sales through the island by following links off to the website. People who've come to listen to their books read or either podcasted and gone on to buy the book. So, yeah.
That's great. So I can hear everybody scribbling in the background now. Do you think, this is a sort of $1 million question in a way. Do you think that that publishers are going to come into virtual worlds more and more? Is there an advantage in doing that, Selina?
I think as things stand, it's the audience that you reach is inevitably limited, while the size of the virtual worlds are what they are, and sim capacities and what have you. It's very hard to get more than 30, 40, 50 people to an event because of sim load issues. So in that sense, it's limited, but you can get a lot of footfall past a shop or a display over time. I think still it's more about what you can say in real life. We are in Second Life. I think it translates into a sort of marketing brownie point when you're discussing your real life marketing plans. But I hope that will change.
Yeah, how do people react to that when you put into your real life marketing, your business plans? You put in that you are in Second Life, have you? How do people react? I'm saying this with the sort of because I know how people react to me if I say it.
How do they react? Out of interest.
All right. Well, there's mixed reaction on the whole. It's getting better. Interestingly, in the last 6 months, it is getting better. There's not so much of the cat's bottom look, which is the pursed lips, and then looking at me as if I'm a sex addict. Although, that may well be true. Who knows? They're looking at me as suddenly I've been taking all my clothes off in front of them, usually. But that has started to change. And the very people that did that to me, say, even a year ago, have almost forgotten that they did it. Although it made a very singular impression upon me. And now they're starting to get curious. And I'm not quite sure why. I am very suspicious of their motives. But because quite a lot of them are journalists, Selina. So, they're getting more and more interested. So whether they want a quick lesson into virtual worlds or whether they want to come in and find out the scandal for themselves, if that's what they think it is, I don't know.
No, I think that the response is mixed. Far too often people just raise an eyebrow and go, what? Second Life? A lot of people still don't know what Second Life is or what a virtual world is, and it takes some explaining, especially to the old school. I mean, publishing is a very traditional industry. Media isn't in its entirety, but certainly book publishing is. That's changing too. So yes, you'll get the sort of quizzical, confused reaction, and then a lot of people very, very excited, curious, engaged, want to give it a go. And as you said, that is changing. It's improving as virtual worlds become more established. So I think it is important.
I would like to see a rival to the London Book Fair. That's what I'm getting at.
Well, we used to schedule it a few days afterwards, so we certainly tried to take it on in our own way. But it really, really was too much work, especially on the heels of the London Book Fair. I think a lot of people who came from that found it too difficult to handle. So we opted for a more continual presence.
So you were going to ask something there.
Are you looking to expand to any other grids? This is GRIDwrap. We talked about the whole metaverse. So is that something you're open to do, or are you encouraging other groups to replicate your idea on other metaverses, or is that like something you'd be offended by, or?
Oh, I think it would be wonderful if people took the idea to other groups. Absolutely. We've got no plans to do it. I've got to say, I've got my hands full at the moment. I think Second Life is as much as I can handle.
Have you ever thought about franchising your idea? Because it looks like a really neat idea, because you have this basis and these wonderful, the wonderful village and everything, and, kind of use it as a template for others to build off of, not exactly to replicate, but, to give that same feeling and the basic synopsis of what you're doing.
I think anyone's free to do what we're doing in other grids, and of course there are other amazing literary sims in Second Life already that we work alongside. It's all very cooperative, very gentlemanly. Nobody's trying to gain some kind of supreme position within the literary community. I mean, they're great places like Milkwood, Cookie, LSJ, which I sadly heard is may not be for much longer, and various wonderful sims. So there's something for everyone. There are lots of events held around the grid that have a literary bent, and we love it. It's great.
I find it extraordinary because it's quite a techie world, and traditionally, as you say, sort of writing area, the creative, that area of creation is sort of in the past, but now it's being taken into the future. It's been taken into the future by virtual worlds and people's adoption of it. It's been taken into the future by things like Kindle and the e-books. And I don't know, what advantage is there in Kindle and e-books? I'm acting as devil's advocate here. I mean, also because I don't, I'd rather have paper, but
Oh, me too. But we don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Portability, mobility.
Good for the earth.
Oh, good for the earth. There you go. You're talking to the wrong person here. I'm an ink and paper girl. So.
Well,
No,
I
I
just
mean,
love the smell of books. That's what gets me with books. That smell when you open it up and you put your nose right in the middle of it. You just go.
Absolutely.
It's just, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. I mean, a Kindle, no way. There's no scratch and sniff with Kindle.
It's true. Maybe. There you go. There's an idea. You remember those scratch and sniff stickers?
Yeah, they would atomize things. No, they were actually talking about something that would spray out whatever. They would formulate it, some kind of way, and it would spray out of your computer, so you would smell what you were around. Of course, it never took off, but I thought it was a novel idea.
Absolutely. No, I mean there are loads of business advantages, of course, to ebooks, Kindle. I mean, reduced production costs, storage, distribution. I mean, the benefits are endless, and it's the future, whether we like it or not. And it is exciting, but it's not for me personally.
Because tell me, what is going to happen with illustration? There are many ways of illustrating, and this is just going to be a JPEG or something like that. Is it? Am I being fundamentally ignorant about that? You're not going to be able to collect books in that same way, are you? So that area is either going to intensify or not, as the case may be. There are people who have to work with paper the whole time. It's part of their job. So, for notes and stuff like that, I mean, I can't see how quite a lot of that is going to work, really.
I think the iPad and various tablet computers sort of make it easier, but again, I'm an ink and paper girl. One thing that I find really, really sad that you just touched on about ebooks is, and the same applies to music with MP3s. I remember when I was a kid going through people's bookshelves and pulling books off and making amazing discoveries, or going through somebody's record collection. That's showing my age. Vinyl, love it. And the things I discovered, I mean, finding Dark Side of the Moon on vinyl and wondering what it was, putting it on and blowing my mind.
And the artwork.
Absolutely.
The artwork on them was just...
But what do? Sort of pick up Mum and Dad's iPods? It just doesn't, pick up Mum and Dad's Kindle. It doesn't work quite the same way in terms of discovering new gems and broadening your horizons in terms of your reading or your music listening. And that I find sad. That's certainly a downside.
Also, what is going to happen to second-hand documents? There's a copyright issue, isn't there? Actually, bringing that up, what about the copyright issue within a virtual world? If people are sitting and reading their stuff, I mean, for example, we could stream it for them. So what would happen with the copyright issue there? What happens with the copyright issue on, I know I've got a bookshelf that actually gives me books. If I click on them in a virtual world, it gives me the text of that book. At the moment, they're books that are actually out of copyright, but I'm pretty sure that there are going to be others there. I mean, what happens about that, Selina?
It's a really sticky area. I mean, the potential for abuse is enormous. I mean, there's nothing to stop somebody scanning a book and slinging it on a bunch of note cards and making it available. It's true. I mean, whether people would consider it worthwhile to do is another matter. And I think that's probably the biggest protection we've got at the moment, because really,
let's be honest, they could facsimile them for the last 20 years and pass them out that way too and make money. So really what stops people is, their own integrity. And the fact that there are laws around that say, no, shouldn't do that,
Well, there are also libraries, aren't there? There are also libraries where you can just go and get a copy.
True.
I mean, in the UK, they're shutting those down. But, I mean, what happens there? Can you rent a digital copy? Will you be able to do that?
I don't believe you
I think the cost is so minimal that it wouldn't make sense to rent it, quite honestly. And I can see a day where you have a Kindle type book that has a binary on it that changes whenever, you look inside the face and you pick the book you want to read, and that the cover changes, the art changes, the inside changes. So it's not just these very rudimentary typed pages that you see on Kindle right now, much more vibrant and much more able to replicate what we remember. But, again, they're never going to replace the smell and the leather and all that. They're just going to it's a facsimile.
You'll have to have an Asus Kindle or something with the leather-bound job, the Lenovo or whoever it was that did the leather-bound laptop. Okay, so let's get back to business. Selina, how do you make a business out of this? You put residents onto a sim, and you say, all right, we'll rent you a stall. How do they market their stuff? Or is it the sheer fact that you call it Book Island or Publishing Island, that's your marketing, and people come there with that expectation?
Well, I think it's many things. I think, yes, Book Island, people enter book in search, and we're up there, they come, they look around, and by virtue of that, they get footfall. Really, it's a lot of the standard things that any good business in Second Life should do. Running a group with a lot of members and making sure that visitors have the option to join that group, and making sure that they know what's going on the island. Classified ads. I mean, obviously we do a classified for the island, but a lot of our long-standing residents do their own, which helps enormously. It's the standard. I don't like to spam. I don't like to do some of the more intrusive methods of marketing, but yeah.
Gradually it takes a hold and you build up a community.
Absolutely, we've been going for 4 years, so people know we're here, and they visit.
I mean, part of the reason I asked you today is because it has been a sort of proper business, it seems to me. It started slowly, you've put the work in, and it's still here, and it's grown, and you've been flexible with it. And it doesn't seem to have that, it's quite that, I don't know, that sort of desperate running around that quite a lot of other businesses seem to have, and the competitive quality, as you've said, it's much more collaborative. Is it because it's quite akin to the educationalists? I mean, it seems to have the same kind of atmosphere around it that the educationalists have in Second Life or in other virtual worlds, which is one of collaboration.
Absolutely. Believe me, we do run around an awful lot. There's a lot of running around under the surface. Really, we've just got a fantastic team at Book Island. Arten Tripser has been a resident since 2007, and she manages the island amazingly. I would be lost without her. And we've got an events manager as well, Sandor Zabelin. I've got to mention them because they are wonderful. And I think a lot to do with being a successful business in Second Life is having a stable, dependable, reliable team, same as real life. And that can be a hard thing to achieve in here. By its very nature, people come, people go. You can be anything in Second Life, and people often switch roles with alarming frequency. So to have a stable team makes a big difference. And I think you're right. There are similarities between the literary Sims and the literary community in Second Life and the educational community. We don't need to bling and make the noise, because people come, people read, people like books, even if it's just an idle search one day for the word book in Second Life that brings you here, or you're an established writer. People find their way to Book Island and other literary Sims in time.
Mal Burns has asked a question here. He says musicians here have devices that sell their MP3s. do authors do similar with their works? Well, we've heard you say that actually they quite often use links to take you through to places and sell from there. Are there other methods?
Hi Mel, I'm not entirely sure what you mean by devices in world to sell
Like
MP3s.
Kindle books, I was thinking Kindle books would be the facsimile of MP3, right?
Yeah, but what happens is you can download an MP3 here from a musician's site. I think that's what we're
Can't you
talking
download
about.
a Kindle book too?
In Second Life? I have no idea.
Well, I think in Second Life it still goes through a web page, where an MP3 storage is, if I understand it correctly.
I'm assuming that's what Mal's saying. There's dispenser clicks through to order the MP3 and pay, and then you get the download link. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like a very similar thing to the website. Is that different at all, Mal? Yeah, you could download PDFs, he's saying.
Okay, sorry, because I can't actually hear in World at the moment. So
no, he's not saying it in World. He's typing into text. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay, well, basically, you've got in-world books themselves. You've got formats like the Think book and the IntelliBook, where you can actually upload PDFs of your actual book and buy the book in-world, in Linden, and read it in-world. So that's something that's been going on for a very long time. Otherwise, as far as I'm aware, it is generally a click-through to a site. So you would actually be paying in real-world currency rather than in Linden's. I'm not aware if anyone who's managed to sort things out where you can pay for something in Linden, a book in Linden's, and then go through to an external site. I'm not aware of that yet with books, but that's a really interesting thought, and something maybe we should start thinking about.
So there you are, Mal.
Gave her a new project, yeah.
Yeah, we've got some other ideas going on in the background here as well, Selina. Actually, we should get together. I'm going to ask you. It changed your way of working coming into Second Life, I think, to a degree. Is that fair to say?
In what sense?
Well, in the sense that it opened out, gave you another marketing tool.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a lot's changed for me, actually. I've taken quite a step back from real life publishing after getting married and having a baby and being quite a full-time mum to a wonderful toddler. So things have changed for me there in many respects. But also with the team that I've got in Second Life, that Book Island is actually tending to run itself in many ways. There's not as much that needed to be done. I mean, gosh, it was hard work at first, both in real life and in Second Life, to get established, but things are a lot easier now.
Does that feel like a wrench? I mean, I know that you have a very full real life. Did it feel like a wrench at all? Because you get very used to doing kind of 24-hour days when you're starting up.
I still am. I'm a mum.
That's true.
More so.
In a different way.
No, I know exactly what you mean. Yes, absolutely. It's yes. I mean, it's definitely a different pace of life. That's for sure. And I do miss the real world connections. I think that go with working full time and running a business and working with authors very actively. So it's definitely been a change of pace. But it's great, and I'm still here in Second Life and still on Book Island. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say it was a visit. Yeah, I was going to say, do you want to talk about the change that it made to your real life? A very fundamental change as well, coming into Second Life.
Oh, yes, he's sitting on the sofa, actually, right next to me.
Hello.
Yes. Actually, Micah Hedrick, who's also sitting in the auditorium, in the audience, he typed in book in search and wound up at Book Island one Saturday evening just before I was about to go out in real life, and we talked for about half an hour, and I was late to go out. He made me laugh. We started hanging out. We met up in real life about 6 weeks later because I had to be in New York for Book Expo. And he took the train down, and the rest is history. We basically spent a year doing a transatlantic, racking up the air miles, and Micah moved over to the UK just over a year later. We got married 6 months after that, and we've now got a 15-month-old toddler. Little
there
girl.
you go. And that's all through. Yeah. Well, it's even, search gets maligned the whole time.
Search works.
You can get if you type in search, you get more than a book.
More than we bargained for, that's for sure.
I know.
Yeah. I was hoping to get Micah onto here as well today, but I might have to stalk him at some other time and bring him on. Okay, so the two... Is he still working in Second... Is he still working in Second Life?
Micah ran a support group for a while in Second Life, and he's still got a presence on Book Island, but I think he's a bit of an avi without a course these days.
Real life is...
He's nodding from across the room. Real life is taking up a lot of his time at the moment. But he's here in the audience, sitting there. But he hasn't got voice, so he shall remain silent. He's sort of making wild gestures with his hands. No, I'm not going to say anything.
No, I won't bring you on now. I'll wait, and then one day I'll just pounce. But of course, you can always say no. Okay, so I'm going to start wrapping up now, Selina. But what we do before we start wrapping up is we talk about what's on our minds, what's in the future, what's immediate to us at this moment. Anything. It can be anything. I'm going to ask Tessa to come in with, and we've got a few minutes, so it doesn't have to be a rush. So Tessa, would you like to show the way for us?
Well, I just, I think part of the reasons why, when she talks, it's so compelling. It makes me want to go there. And I think it's because it's a juxtaposition of the old with the new. I think that really appeals to me. The fact that it's got that old book, a yarn kind of vintage feel to it, and that community. And I'm looking at how Selina is dressed, and I'm thinking, yes, this is very much of a more civilized side of SL that we're not used to seeing, and it's kind of quaint and refreshing. And then the other side of me just loves that it's so convenient that I don't have to travel to the UK to come meet with her and listen to the people she gathers around her, that I have the convenience of just popping on late at night and listening in. And I think that's like the perfect combination. I want you to come to my grid. Or get somebody
selling on your grid.
Yes, I think it would be hugely appealing. I have Ikmel there. Maybe he would like to do it because he does have a wonderful voice, and he's wonderful with telling stories and doing theatrical kind of things. So maybe I can talk him into doing something like Book Island for us.
Absolutely, and I'd love to come and pay a visit and see what it looks like. I've never been on another grid.
Oh,
believe it.
Try it. It's
That's
shocking because you're a newbie all over again, and you're like, oh, where's my hair? Where's my makeup?
It's hilarious.
Yes, you have to start all over. But in another way, it's really kind of cool because you get to reinvent yourself. You get to discover that feeling again of being brand new, and your inventory's clean. Oh my gosh. None of the guilt of all the gathering of things, and I can't throw that out, even though I've had it for years and I've never worn it but once. So it's kind of nice.
That sounds exciting, actually, to be able to recapture the noob feeling again would be wonderful. That'd be good. I shall pay you a visit.
You should spend all your time in appearance. I mean, actually, every time I go in there and I go into appearance to start, and I'm thinking I'm in here for work and I'm supposed to be doing stuff, but actually all I want to do is sort out my avatar.
That's what everybody, first thing they ask for is, where's the freebie store, please? At least the girls, and the guys look at the one little wall I have for them and go, okay, typical. but we'll get there. We have a lot of pretty good designers coming in, so I'm very excited about that. And if you have any favorites, Selena, please let me know. I'll mention, or you mention it to them, because that actually means more to them than if I mention it to them. So.
But actually, apropos of that, Tessa, you do have, I noticed in the sort of city area there, that you do have a bookstall, don't you? You do sell magazines and things in there.
Yes, it's an RSS type thing. You click on the magazine on the rack, and it gives you a copy. You can sit it on your desk, and it automatically updates. Every time it updates, you just have to click on it, and it will open up in your web window. That might be another way to distribute books, too, at least the free ones. And there's no reason why you couldn't put a pay-click on there, and then get the, we could actually do it through our marketplace where you would get a password, and that password would unlock that book, which would be kind of neat if we could do something visual that actually had a key unlocking a book, like a diary. That would be really neat. But there's lots of things you can do that you can't do in Second Life, just because it's a more a restrictive environment in the way of the back end. But I think it's remarkable what we have been able to do in SL from the front end. And very grateful for that opportunity to see that and then take it to the next level.
Okay, Selina, we're going to come to you. So, what's on your mind? What's happening? What is your feelings about the future, or the past, or the present, or is there anything bugging you? Anything at all?
Gosh, this is a difficult question. I was just minding my own business on Book Island, actually up in the sky, playing with a few of those breedable horses when I got your IM saying, come talk to us. So,
well, talk to me about breedable horses, for crying out loud, because there seem to be quite a lot around there.
It's nuts. It's extraordinary. Millions of pixel breedable horses with a huge secondary market, people making hundreds of dollars on little lumps of 14 pixels, textured in different colors. It's fascinating. It's amazing. I'm actually selling a few horses as well. It's fun. So I suppose, what's on my mind? Will the price of black pintos fall overnight?
Ouch!
It is a game, isn't it?
It is. It's a game
within the game. Yeah.
People are making money on it. Real money, real life money. Somebody just mentioned in chat books about breedable horses. There are books on breedable horses, beautifully produced photo books, and been trying to persuade the creator to come over and display them on Book Island, so we're in the middle of talking about that. But I think in terms of the future, broader, beyond the horses, I think Second Life is becoming more established. I think it's entering a new phase. I know people say that a lot. I know there are glitches, like I notice a lot of people using Viewer 2, but a lot of people don't like it. People grumble and grouse. But I think things are getting better. I mean, when you look back 4 years and you think about maintenance Wednesdays and all the downtime and hair on butts, and I mean, we have come such a long way. And I think it's calm. I don't know if it's because I'm an older avatar, but there's a sort of calmness within Second Life. Maybe it's Book Island. Maybe we're calm on Book Island and I don't get out enough. But I think Second Life is coming into its own. And that excites me. I like that.
Perhaps it's growing up in a funny sort of way, considering they've just let the teens in. But perhaps that's what it is. Perhaps all the virtual worlds are growing up, because just thinking about any new environment, any new genre of any form of anything, really, it has to go through all sorts of explosive stages in order to be and to arrive at its point and then develop from there, or arrive at its stability. Stability is not a word that I use lightly because I didn't know what it meant for quite a long time. I'm getting lots of protests in IM saying, growing up, hell no. So, so maybe I'm talking out of the hair in my bottom, but who knows? I don't know. On my mind today, I think there is fair to say that I've had absolutely nothing on my mind today.
That's a shock. That's a shock.
Well, I have had, but it's one of those things where not so much to do. Well, yeah, there's quite a lot I can't talk about, but also I can't really. I have gestation periods in my life. I don't know whether anybody else would identify with this, but if I want to write, or if I'm producing a program, or if I'm thinking of a new program, or if I'm thinking about what's happening in the time ahead for the diary or the calendar or whatever is going on, I have a gestation period in which I sit and appear, even to myself, to have nothing going on in my head at all. And then out of that sort of silence comes a little thought, and then another little thought, and then another thought, and then quite often blind panic. So I'm going through that stage at the moment, and I've had this often enough for me not to actually panic about the stage itself. But I think a few years ago I would have been in a panic about this stage, and it can be misread. But that's where I am right now. Nowhere. I believe it's nirvana in some religions. It's like where you don't know.
And then there's something that's been on my brain since the show started, since we got extra time, and that is Deuce's multiple sleeves and pink bow and pink socks with an olive green dress.
Right, well, we have no body fascism on this program, so we have no discussion about my clothes. It is not a fascinatingly endless... It has made it to Twitter and God knows where. But actually, after being dubbed the Liberace of Second Life, there will be no compliment that can top that.
And Rob's just taking a close-up of your beautiful socks.
Is he being rude? Okay. I think it's time to draw the program to an end, ladies and gentlemen.
She's cheeky and she's saying, I don't care if you don't like me.
No, I don't, really.
I know you don't. It's so cute.
So, everybody, just say a huge thank you to Selina Greene today, because I know you'll all be going off to Book Island and Publishing Village, because it just is the most fantastic place, and you can sit and you can listen to your heart's content, and you can meet wonderful people, and you might even be able to tout your book around, and that book you've had sitting in your drawer for 100 years that you thought you might write. Well, you've written it now. Take it down there. You've got no excuse. So, and one day I hope to see a book fair in here that will rival the London Book Fair, because I'd really like to see that. It's a very exciting place to be. Thank you very much, Selina. Indeed.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you again. Thank you, Tessa Harris.
Give the baby a kissy. She's all our Second Life baby now, you know. She's got tons of aunts and uncles.
That's right. So give Mika a kissy. I can't believe that. You put the word book into search and you come out with wife and baby.
Yeah, really. Where's mine? Okay, I want to know where my guy is, okay?
Have you searched the word book? He might be there.
Yeah, no. I keep using a much different word.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, in World and on the net. And we will be here again on Thursday. Well, actually, we'll be doing spot-on office hours on Thursday. So wait to get your messages about that.
The first one.
And so everybody, thank you very much, and take care, and have a good evening.